Hey everyone! I am so excited about the red carpet mystery box that Cricut released today, and I know we love the Merlot cutie, but we're going to talk about what's inside the box today. So I'm loving the mats and the heat resistant tape, but I also really love the smart vinyl, and I find that it weeds really well. So I figured today we would make a mug. Now normally you can go to images and you can grab your own little thing, but today I'm going to show you guys how I like to pick my own fonts and how I just do my own design. So I'm going to go over here and grab a shape. If you've never watched one of my videos, you can easily find where my mouse is by that little circle. So I'm going to grab a square. Now I'm doing just like a standard mug from the Dollar Tree, so I don't do a design bigger than 3 by 3. So I'm going to set the dimensions for my mug at 3 by 3. Now my mug is white, but I'm going to change the color just to a light gray so it's easier to see on the canvas here. Now I'm going to click a text box and I'm going to type in what I want. So this is going to be a little gift for a friend. So I'm going to write, I looked up my symptoms. I should be able to type better. And it turns out I just have kids. Now when I pick my font, I might go back and rearrange this a little bit depending on the style to make sure it's going to fit really well in that 3 by 3 measurement that I've set for myself, but we'll see. So then you go up to your font picker. Now if you're a member of one of the official Facebook groups, you can see my full list of fonts that I have available. You can search my name and fonts, and I have typed out every single font that is included in the Cricut Access subscription. There's a list of cutting fonts and writing fonts that you guys can choose. So I am really a big fan of the BFC fonts lately. So I'm going to type in BFC just to quickly narrow down to that. Now I want something that is a little bit, let me see, I really like this one, the chalk eraser font. So I'm going to start there. Now sometimes it maybe is a little too thick, it's not going to fit really well, so we're going to see this. So here's what I'll do now. So I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. So if I double click on my text, I can just go back in here and I can rearrange this so that it's going to be more square, I guess is the best way to put it. So we're going to try this a little bit. Now if we size this down, how's that going to look? It's a little bit thin, a little bit, it's not as wide, but that's pretty good. I like the height on that. Now my mug is a little bit tapered, so I'm going to go down just a tiny bit more, but we'll talk about the taper when we get there. Okay, now I'm going to hide my square because I don't need that. I have just my design. We're going to click Make It, and I am going to be using Smart Permanent Vinyl, and so we are going to click Without a Mat. Now, if you are using a Maker 3, an Explorer 3, you can use this material without a mat right in your machine. If you have a Maker or an Explorer Air 2 or even a Joy, you can cut this down and use it on a mat. Now your setting might be a little bit different, but you can just play around with it. I recommend using the setting on your machine as close to just like permanent vinyl. There's really not much of a difference except for this has a bit of a thicker backing to go through the Maker 3 and Explorer 3 without a mat. Okay, so now we're going to click Continue. I already have my machine on, so it's just going to search for it. Now it's only going to give me compatible options. Now that means because I'm not using a mat, it's only going to show me materials that I can cut without a mat. So Smart Iron-On and Smart Paper Sticker Cardstock are already favorited for me because they're two of my most used materials. But I don't have a ton of permanent vinyl, so we're going to browse all materials and then we will go to Smart Vinyl Permanent. I'm going to click Done, and then I'm going to add more pressure because that is just what my machine likes. Now we're going to go over to my other camera and I will show you guys how to load it and all of that. All right, so now we are here, and I'm going to show you guys. So I have the roll holder here, which even though this is a small cut, I'm going to use it. You can see these slots here on the back. They match up here and then here on your machine. Oh goodness, excuse me. So we're going to put that on there. Now this little thing here is your cutter, so when you're done, you just cut your material off. I'll show you how to do that. So I have my smart vinyl. This is adhesive vinyl, so we are loading it with the vinyl side up. Okay, so we have this side up. So we're going to put it in our roll holder and we're going to feed it right underneath here. Now the reason that I'm doing this is because when you cut on the Maker 3 or Explorer 3 with smart materials, they're 13 inches wide, but you need at least 6 inches of material in height to put into your machine. Now obviously mine's not that big, so I would have some waste, so I don't want that. So I'm going to load the whole roll in, make sure it goes right underneath my guides here, the little white ones, up here. Now you'll notice this little black mark here on your machine, that's the sensor. Your smart materials have like something on the side that your machine reads. So when it goes through, this is what your machine is reading, is your little sensor, and it's knowing that you're going to have smart material. So that's going to pull it in. It's going to make sure I have the correct blade and the amount of material that I need. And then my blinking light's going to go and I can start. Now this design's a little bit smaller, so we're going to see how it does with that small font and design. When this is done, I will pull, I'll unload it, and I'll cut my material down. Now, I will have obviously excess material that's not 13 inches wide, so I can't put that back into my machine. So keep that in mind. You can just use these scraps on a mat. Now with my Maker 3, I just put it on a mat, and I do the premium permanent vinyl material setting. You can also go in and create a custom setting. And don't forget too, this is super fast because the smart materials cut 8 times faster than regular materials on a mat. So this is another reason that I like using the smart materials, because it's just so much faster. So this is gonna go really quick. So I'm gonna try to talk to you guys about a few things while we're here. So this is my mug. I already cleaned it with alcohol, rubbing alcohol, in a lint-free cloth, and then you let air dry. Now when you put your design on, I keep in mind I'm right-handed, so if I'm holding my mug, it's like this. I want my design on this side so it's facing out. If you want it facing in, that's okay. My husband and I actually frequently debate about the best way to do this. I like it on the outside. He thinks, why don't you want to look at it? Well, I think that's silly to not have anything on this side. So you can put it on both, you can do whatever you want. But that's something I keep in mind when I'm doing this, is where is my design going to go, and I factor that in. So I'm actually going to grab my brayer here, and I'm going to use that to prop that up. Okay, so now I'm going to hit unload. I'm actually going to flip on my Bright 360 here really quick, so I can see on this roll holder where my design is, to make sure I don't cut off my design. Alright, we're just gonna slide this across, and then I still have my whole roll, so I just put my hand in and go like this, and roll it back up, and pop it back in that tube that I have misplaced somehow. So I will actually do that later. And then I'm gonna put my roll holder away. Here it is. Pop that back in the tube, and we're good to go. And then I'm going to, everybody cuts their stuff down differently. Some people like the paper trimmer for this. I use the safety ruler and my True Control knife, and I cut down my material that way. And I just, let me see, make sure I'm in shot. I just cut it down this way. I line it up. My self-healing mat is like my favorite thing ever. So I line it up here, and then I just use the guides and measurements here. And this way I save as much of my material as I possibly can. This is a bit of a thicker backing, so I gotta go a little bit deeper. And now this tells me on the back, Cricut Smart Vinyl Permanent, so I know what it is. I can set it aside with my scraps, and then I will go ahead and use that on a mat next time I need it. Right, I got my weeding tool. I use the True Control knife weeding toolkit tip with this pointy tip here. Now, I'm going to, actually, I know it's not the I'm going to turn that back on so I can see to weed this. Okay, so for me, I like to start in the center here with like all my little small pieces when I weed. Now, you can see they're just kind of going up on my finger now. Everybody has a different approach to it. I end up just taking all of my scraps and putting them on this excess piece that I'm going to weed off here at the end. And that way, when I go to, I can just pull that all off and throw everything in the trash. I don't have to worry about where my little pieces go, where did they get stuck, all of that stuff. So I just leave them right up on the side. So some of these lines are a little bit thin, so keep that in mind too when you're using permanent vinyl on a mug, that it can be, the thinner lines can be a little bit trickier when weeding, but also for washing. So do keep that in mind, and keep in mind also, if you haven't done permanent vinyl on mugs yet, that it is hand wash and no soaking. Now, Cricut permanent vinyl is rated as dishwasher friendly, but I do hand wash still, just to be safe, but to each their own. It is rated as dishwasher friendly. So mine did cut through, but because these lines are a little bit thinner in some of these areas, it's a little bit tricky. So all I do is you can just kind of weed like this, and I just put that in, and that helps just kind of break that cut right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually just going to, for the sake of time, weed this off camera, and then I'll come back and show you guys how to apply. Okay, this is all weeded and we are ready to go. Now I have a piece of transfer tape that is well loved, and I'm going to reuse that for this. It's Cricut transfer tape. I've cut it down to like 3x3, and I will do this just because I do like a lot of mugs with the vinyl. I do like, I'll keep those 3x3 pieces specifically for mugs and stuff like that, and then I know it's already ready to go. So I burnish only from the front, but I'm going to burnish from the back. Now this is really helpful with, to help get it off of there. Now, I don't know if you guys can see. Let's see if we bring this closer. You probably can't see, but along the edge here is where that sensor is that I told you about that your machine reads. So if you have some smart vinyl, you can just take a closer look and see where that sensor is. So now we are going to peel the backing of the vinyl from the vinyl. Instead of pulling the transfer tape up, we're going to peel that backing away. Now you can see how easily this is coming off onto my transfer tape, and that's removing it this way is so much easier. I'm going to angle this a little bit so I have a better view, but we're going to go ahead and just take our mug and line this up and apply it. Now, because my design was small enough, I'm not going to hit that taper. I'm going to go ahead and just push this down the side, and I'm going to go to the right, slowly and carefully, and then I'm going to do the same on the left here, and we're going to get that design on. Now you want to burnish. Vinyl is pressure sensitive, so to get it onto that mug, we're going to burnish. Now, one of the biggest questions that we get is, how do I avoid bubbles? I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways to avoid bubbles. Now you can peel this from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left, it doesn't matter. But when you pull your transfer tape, you're going to roll it straight back. You're going to do so slowly to make sure everything burnished well, it doesn't come up. But those bubbles happen when you're pulling that transfer tape up, because if this isn't adhered really well, it's coming up. So that's why you get bubbles. So pulling your transfer tape on anything that you use adhesive vinyl on straight back like that is really going to help with the bubbles. And now we have a mug. Now don't forget, this is hand wash only, do not soak, and be careful of those thin lines. Alright everybody, if you have any questions, let me know.